Oh no. Oh, it's set to this. Whatever, that's fine. Hello, everyone. I've approached from the Black Void. My name is Curtis, and you're joining us here for the New Orleans Game Developers Meetup. This is the month of September in the year of 2023. Can we go ahead and hit the display with camera and then Alt-Tab to the slides presentation? No. Display with camera and and the slideshow, and then Alt Tab to that one, and then go to the first one, and then press slideshow, which I thought I did already, but I didn't. Okay, this is a very professional production. As you can see, the month is September. I'm green screened out. Sweet. You go ahead to the next page, next slide, whatever it is. So if you've never been here before, I'm going to tell you what we are. So we are NOGD, which stands for New Orleans Game Developers. We are a registered 501c3 nonprofit, and what we do is we host events, we do online classes, and we just give people the space to come together and be interested in game development. And so this meetup is one of our many things that we do. You can go ahead and hit the bullet points. The meetup, which you're here for today, happens on the third Thursday of almost every month, unless otherwise stated. And it may happen on other Thursdays. And it may happen not on Thursday at all. It's really, that's the fun thing about life. You never know what's going to happen next. Next one. Oh, I know what they all say. I don't need to look at them. We also do a weekly hack night in Discord at around 7:30ish p.m. Not a lot of people go to Hack Night these days. It used to be a bigger event when it was COVID and everyone was at home all the time. Now everyone's at home all the time by choice, and they don't want to be on the internet anymore, and that's fine. But other than Hack Night, we also do a weekly or bi-weekly. This sounds very fuzzy. This sounds all kinds of wrong. Then we also have Show and Tell every other Wednesday at Sea Cave Arcade. That happens at 7:30 p.m. Sea Cave's at 3000 St. Claude Avenue in New Orleans in the Bywater. That's hosted by our good friend Dex, who unfortunately is not here. But that's cool, and that's what happens. If you're interested in joining our Discord, you can scan this giant QR code, or less giant if you're watching on a computer screen at home. You scan that. I believe the invite still works, and you'll still get to our Discord, and you'll get spammed with all kinds of notifications from our calendar bot that reads from our Google Calendar, which has all the details of all the events coming up. So you never have to miss a thing. So next up is seasonal game jams. Yes, that's also something we do. I forgot about that bullet point. Sorry. I'm not doing my job great today. So the seasonal game jams, we had one just the other week called the Pig Jam, which you can hit the next slide. I think it's the next slide. More types of meetups, but it's after this one. It's after that one. Yeah, Pig Jam. That's the pig. I bought this pig dead, and we gave it to a guy, and he grilled it. He roasted it. I have a very graphic video of sticking the apple in its mouth, and you see the juice drip down the flesh of the apple. It's very disturbing. I apologize to everyone if you're vegan or Muslim and don't like pork, or whatever reason you don't like to see dead animals. I kind of subjected you to this, and I'm still talking about it, so you have to look at it longer. But we actually weren't going to do the pig jam, so we'll just do it first. Who cares? You go to the next slide. So we had a pig jam this last weekend. What it was a crazy idea that we came up with, where what if there was a game jam, but during the game jam someone was making smoked meat, and you had until that meat was cooked to make a game. It's a crazy idea, and we were able to convince about 16 people that it was good enough of an idea to participate in. And here are the results. So I want to welcome the first team. Do y'all have like a name? Team Micropig? Okay. Well, never. Yeah, we can switch. Who cares? It's easy going. This is the big easy, not the big stupid and strict about order. These are some lovely pictures. Uh, it's not Germany, no. That is a fact. This is some lovely pictures. This is our good friends Calypso and Logan. They made this horrible contraption that we use as a controller for our game. And you go to the next picture. We're just gonna go through the pictures for right now. This is the other team. Some Pixel Dash employees. There's Dex in the pink tank top. This is a picture from behind. He didn't know I was taking this picture, which is why I took it. And here it is. That's Luke, with the beard. I forget this gentleman's name with what is that? Ableton. He's got the little mini synth. Yeah, that guy was cool. He made music. It was sick. They had a rhythm game thing. The next picture is the last picture, I think. Yeah, and then the feature presentation. So we're going to come back to the Pig Jam stuff. We're going to let people show their games and stuff. But before we do that, our original feature presentation is we have Miss Melissa Dowell here, who will give us a nice little presentation.
Okay. Hi. I'm Melissa Dowell. I'm currently a senior product designer at a cybersecurity startup with kind of a number of years working in the UX field. I have also worked as an artist and designer on a few games for myself and other people, including MicroPig at this year's Game Jam. So I'm excited to kind of merge all of these into this talk. This talk is going to cover the book, The User Experience Team of One. It's intended to essentially review this book and how it can be used as a reference guide to help you learn more about the UX process and apply it to your game development. This book isn't something that I'd say that you need to read cover to cover, though of course that's always a great way to read it. But it functions really well as a reference guide for you to pick up again and again as you kind of build out your UX process. Hi. Can people hear me better now? Okay, great. So, next slide. Thank you. So, this book is The User Experience Team of One by Leah Bewley. The work Leah did at Adaptive Path, which is a pioneering UX consultancy where she worked, is kind of the basis of the techniques that led to this book. It was published in 2013, and this book has not been re-released with later editions, just so you're aware. So the book does have a few items that are a little bit dated, but I think it's still entirely relevant to new and practice UX people. This book is also published by Rosenfeld Media, which seems to only publish UX books. So check into them if you kind of need to flesh out more of your reading lists. They actually recently put out a book called Design for Safety, which is on the ethics of product design and reducing harms through technology, which I'm really excited to delve into later. So I do recommend them as a publishing house as well. And they've got some really niche books. The UX Team of One is split up into two sections. So part one kind of covers the philosophy of UX, which gives some background to the history and career practices of the profession, and part two is called practices and really goes into various methodologies and is that main reference for your research strategy that you can use on your own or with friends and colleagues if you can't get actual users to play with. Here's a slide before that. Yes. Why this book? I was kind of interested in using this book for this session because it's something that I've seen on a lot of UX book lists. If you ever look up UX reading lists, this book almost always appears on it. So I think that makes it worth checking out. It's also that I think that kind of working as a team of one is a common experience for a lot of indie designers and developers. I'm also a little bit biased because the majority of my UX career has been either as the sole designer in a company or on a team. And UX is really supposed to be a very collaborative field. You're kind of supposed to talk to others. So I think that it's important to kind of prepare yourself and have guidance, and this book can really help you with that. So, uh, so here we explain kind of what's in the book. So next slide. Thank you. So let's kind of start on the highlights from the first part of the book. If you're new to UX, I'm assuming someone here might be, you will want to start here to kind of get a better understanding of it. A lot of people tend to think of UX as just kind of making the UI pretty and functional. However, this field historically comes from a merging of several different fields. Pretty much from ergonomics, cognitive sciences, and human-computer interaction, which with HCI kind of being a traditionally engineer-based space before kind of us designers got inside of it. As you can see from the chart, the user experience really touches like everything. It goes into technology aspects from kind of a functionality and performance aspect, as well as how technology shapes what we do and what the technologies that we're using. There's business aspects from like vision and roadmaps and strategy, design for aesthetics, experience, communication, and people. We study what they do and with and without technology to kind of understand how to shape our products for them, and then how how their use of our products kind of changes what we design for. It's kind of this really nice back and forth aspect of it. So this is why you'll see kind of UX appended to a bunch of career titles like UX copy, UX engineer, UX researcher, et cetera, et cetera. There's kind of not one monolith of user experience, but like various tendrils that it touches. Thank you. What are you doing? All right. All right. So one of the early chapters is get to know the UX toolkit, which delves further into the idea that like UX is more than research, design, and iterate, which I think is how most people tend to think of UX. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but there are various models that you can use. There's this one design process diagram, which kind of like shows the discover, design, and engineering pathway. It also kind of highlights the importance of taking time to get to know your users. Don't just assume that because you game that you know what people want. It's really important to be talking with people. Ooh, that got loud. To better understand. So there's also that strategizing work to be done, as we've discussed a little bit, and we'll touch into further. And if you're kind of getting into design and you aren't on the engineering side of things, it does talk through a little bit about like what it's like to implement a design that you create, with like handing off your designs to engineers and kind of how to involve QA with your designs. And if you do QA, maybe a little bit more about like what you might want to look for when you're working with people's designs. And it lightly touches into kind of like how you might go about collecting various like metrics and doing analytics tracking to further study what people are doing with your game and how to use that to plan for future designs and updates, etc. Okay. And where are we? Yeah, so the last two sections of this part one kind of does a great job at preparing you for organizational and kind of interpersonal resistance to UX work. And maybe you're one of those people. I've definitely met some who are a little bit skeptical about kind of the ROI of doing UX work for your game. I'm not going to debate that, but it is an interesting section on how you might establish rapport with other teams to understand issues within a game that you're working on, kind of get access to feedback you might otherwise not hear about, like from the customer support teams or people who field all the bug complaints and stuff like that. Like usually if you're on a team, you're going to be kind of getting all that stuff filtered down for you. And maybe you want that, maybe you don't, but it'll talk about all of that. And I've lost my place in my notes. So kind of at the end of this, you might also kind of be like a development team of one. It might just be you working on your games and kind of handling all of this yourself and kind of unsure what to do with all of this information that's being fed to you, because you're the one who's handling the complaints and the customer support tickets and all that stuff. And so it's like, do you fix everything for everyone? Do you just kind of stick to your instincts on what's good for your game or not? So when you're sitting down and thinking about your next changes, like accessibility requests or people who are complaining they don't like the location of a button or something like that, you kind of it helps you kind of find a little bit of that like empathy and start asking like, well, where are these complaints coming from and why do they have these complaints? But also like kind of balancing out with the idea of like kind of quantifying how many complaints you're getting. And is this something that can be pushed off to a later fix? It's easier when you can work on a team with people and discuss this, even if they're not directly UX people. But kind of getting all of that data added, like given to you, is kind of helpful for making those decisions. Yeah. Which brings us to the second part of this book, which is all about the various methods kind of put into practice. And so it's kind of broken up really nicely where it says kind of an estimate of how many hours it'll take to do a lot of these different methodologies. And you can kind of pick and choose what would be appropriate for what you're trying to solve for. So in the beginning of part 2 is that planning and discovery. A couple methods that were suggested, which I find very useful, are the listening tour, which explains kind of how to talk to your colleagues on your team and other teams, or even just like in your handy game dev Discord group, about issues, so that way you can learn about issues with your game or an existing game they may have just started working on, anything like that, and how to take that information and make it actionable for yourself. The brainstorm sessions is the traditional sticky note brainstorm thing that you see in stock photos and in my photo here from a co-design session I did a year ago. It's really about like pulling in people who know the product that you're working on and would have ideas for features, improvements. And the important thing is how to keep it focused. The idea is think of the problem you're trying to solve first, then gather your brainstorming ideas based on that. And that way you're more effectively keeping everyone on track instead of just letting it be like, everyone makes suggestions and we're just going to try and get the most information out of people. You really want to keep it pinpointed. Yeah. And so on to the next part. Yeah, this is the fun one. So research methods. This one is especially great because research you can get a lot of pushback if people be like, oh, I don't want to take time to do this. It's going to take too much time. It's going to cost lots of money. You're going to have to find people. And so they give you a lot of ideas of things that you can do by yourself as well. So kind of things can start with the learning plan where you're kind of taking time to yourself to find like gaps in your understanding of users' needs and like just kind of planning out what you're going to research for and how. Another great solo research method that the book talks about, which I love because it's kind of a harder thing for people to grasp at the beginning, is heuristic markup. So usability heuristics are guidelines for kind of ensuring the user interface design is comprehensive, straightforward, and user-friendly. This is a definition that I pulled off the internet because it's really hard to explain. They're basically kind of a rule of thumb for what you're going to be doing with the user experience and kind of how to make it usable. It shouldn't be the start and end of your UX planning, but it is a really good place to start because essentially this can be used as a checklist for assessing your like existing game as usable, or if you're in the planning stages, like if your wireframes are meeting some basics. The book itself has kind of links to popular heuristics such as the Jacob Nielsen, like usability heuristics, which is found on the NNG site. The Nielsen Norman Group is a really popular leader in UX. So if you want to learn more, they have a lot of references for you, and it's linked to in the book, and you can also just Google it. However, most people are aware of the Nielsen 10, but there are other ones that do exist for other reasons. Like there's one of my favorites is the Gerhard Powell's cognitive engineering principles, which kind of focuses on things to help with memory and like mental fatigue. So you could go and take the Nielsen usability ones and then the Gerhardt Power for cognition, and then you can kind of merge them together to like test or analyze a complex game. You know, if you've got like puzzles or like special inventory things that people like kind of need to keep track of over time, like multiple storylines and stuff like that, you can kind of apply this to your gameplay and see if like how does this match up with those kind of checklist heuristics. It's great, and it's really fun, and you can do it all by yourself, so you don't actually need to have other people that as your users to test with. The comparative assessment is kind of different from a competitive analysis, which many of you may have thought of. With the comparative assessment, you might want to take, it helps you with things like kind of assessing how people do button mapping. Like most people would think like, hey, I know that games, you know, map things to the A/B buttons in this way, so I'm going to do that. And so you can look at things like more in depth in that manner. So you can kind of like, you want to take a few areas like the content, the design, the features, the functionality, and then you take a few other games and start comparing. Well, how do they do this? Like, where's the placement? Like, you know, where do they put the power bars? Where do they put the health bars? All of that stuff. And then as you kind of see those patterns going over and over in the games, you can start to see, hey, this is where people are going to kind of expect things to be. So if you put them in different places, you kind of got to think about like, why are you doing that? And how can you help them like kind of reconfigure their mental model and expectations. And this comparative assessment can help you with that of like, oh, I'm going to do what everyone else is doing, or I'm going to break it, and this is why it's important for me to do it that way. Next. So this is design methods. It's not about learning like applications for design. This won't help you like learn Blender or Figma or anything like that. Really, it's talking about you know, just different ways for you to start your design process and thinking about what you're creating and how that's going to kind of work out. So you have your design brief, which is like a, you know, like your Pinterest mood board of, hey, let's get together the feel and the look of things so that way we have that kind of set up early on. And then from there, you know, we have like sketchboard and the hand-drawn screens, which is what you might want to do before kind of moving to like digital assets as a way to kind of brainstorm and start planning. Obviously, I like hand drawing, as you can see from my lovely sketch of a mobile application. But if you feel better starting in digital, there are like libraries and stuff that you can download, and you can just easily like drop and paste in. But really, the idea of this, like whether you approach it by just hand drawing or using a library, is to not just jump in, but like really work things out by hand to understand what you're creating and kind of do this mapping out method. So this is always fun. Testing and validation methods is the third section I love, which is one of my favorite things to get to do. You never launch a game without playtesters, and UX is the same way, except that you can actually do testing way before you even get to something that's playable. You can really start that criticism early with those hand-drawn assets that we had on the other screen, and you know, you can set it up on like a whiteboard, little murder board type thing, and like let people take sticky notes and like put down criticisms of like what they see with those really early sketches and like what's confusing to them. You use that, and then you can go and address those issues first, and then you can go into, you know, into your digital assets and starting to put things together. The idea is that you really want to get people to think quickly about like what doesn't feel right, what doesn't look right, what doesn't make sense, and get that reaction early. And you can just do that with like a couple of people with you or online or something like that. They also talk about the quick and dirty usability tests. So usability tests are really helpful to help you understand like how users want to accomplish a task. So like this photo is a really popular UX meme because it shows how that sidewalk was planned, of like you go down here and then you turn there, and everyone else just wants to cut right through. So the idea would be, you know, you're observing how someone is actually interacting with your game. So you might see like, hey, they're kind of clicking around an object instead of right on top of it, or maybe they're like, oh, it's a sword, so I'm only going to click on the handle, whereas they could have actually clicked on the whole thing. and or like you can see that they're like spinning around in circles. They're looking for hidden passages or something rather than going forward. So that means like you can make signage that's like go that way, you fool, or you can even like have fun with people. Like so, like if they're just kind of clicking all over the place, you can have like fun pop-ups. You can have those like nice little interactive elements, the way that like the Sam and Max games do, where you can click on a lamp and it turns on and off, or it makes a funny sound, something like that. The point of this is to really like discover both the usability issues where people are unable to do what you want them to do, as well as find those opportunities to have fun with your users based on how they want to interact with your game. So, where was I? Yes. In summary, here we go. Like, we have here that the book is helpful for people who are new as well as experienced. This book will give you a lot. There's so much more like little things that you could do in that second part of the book. Like I said, I only picked like 2 or 3, and there's like at least 6, I believe, in each section. So there's more methods that you could use. Some of them I like, some of them I didn't like, but those were the ones I liked best. It also covers more things than just talking about like the UI that you're creating. You can make all these storyboards. You can make these roadmaps that like help you as you figure out like what you're doing for like this year and the next year and the next year as you keep developing your game, and like how to strategize that. And the really interesting, the specifications, like redlining for your developers if you're not a developer, how to really hand off your designs to them without them just being like, I don't know what I'm looking at. Some criticisms is that it is from 2013. It's mostly focused on in-person methods, which might be great for game testing, but also a lot of us these days now are remote workers. We don't have access to, colleagues in an office to kind of ping them. And so there are different ways that you can do that, but that's not covered in this book. It is light on accessibility research and kind of how to address them in a team of one, because that is an issue of how do you get people who are differently abled than you, in the sense of like, colorblind testing, or even just like have mobility concerns. And, can they still play with your game as the way you intended them to, or have you just cut out an entire like section of people? It also doesn't discuss like tester incentives or how to build a really lean budget. There are ways that you can get people to play your game and offer them either free stuff or discounts or something like that. Just a lot of different ways. This doesn't cover it. But it focuses on interviewing colleagues. And it talks about it that way a lot, but don't forget, like, you can use your friends and family and people who are all around you, especially with game development, because everyone wants to play your game. And then there is a small section on working as kind of a solo designer with some helpful suggestions for networking, kind of that feeling alone feeling. Obviously, we're all part of this networking group, and we can see each other in Discord and stuff, but I think it's kind of important to think about like what the impact of working alone and kind of in your own bubble can have, especially from a UX perspective, because again, like, you're trying to get over your own bias and your own perspective of things and kind of open up and understand what other people want. So this does talk about ways to kind of find other people who are into UX stuff, and if you're interested in developing kind of that community more, I would recommend it for that. And that's everything. That's it. Anyone have any questions? Yes.
So I'm really interested in the concept of the unobserved behavior or usage of games, or not just games, but UIs in general.
Mm-hmm.
You gave an example of there being a sword that could be clicked, and people might just click the handle instead of the entire thing. I find that kind of a thing really interesting in behavior that you wouldn't expect from somebody, and the audience tends to act a certain way. Do you have other examples of where people have like surprised you in UX, where things were presented in a way that you thought was simple, but they went at it a completely different angle?
Let me think. There's not, well, I tend to like observe people like when they first get into the game. That's when they're always like kind of testing what their boundaries are. Like how high can you jump? Like where can you jump to? Or even thinking about like Super Mario Brothers 3 of like just hitting the up button and seeing like can I get behind the scenes here? You can sometimes see people like try to see, is there a secret here that I can unlock? And so those are kind of interesting things where it's like it's not an issue of your usability, but some people want that kind of gameplay to it. For kind of unexpected things, yeah, I've seen people just like try and run backwards and just see what happens. Like, do you hit a wall? Can you go someplace else? Some people will just fall down tubes. Really, yeah, it's a lot of like trying to see what the developers put in. That I've mostly seen, but not too much like unexpected. I think like from applications and kind of like the software side of things, I've definitely seen like people like there's a save button, but it's disabled, and like people will like go through and like maybe skip a form. And then they'll keep clicking on the save button. It's like you have to go back and get the field that you missed, which generally is actually a UX issue that we did. Of you should not like have only disabled button until you fill out the forms. It's that you should always have an enabled button, and then when they click it, it gives them feedback. And that's actually one of the usability heuristics, is that you get feedback when you're doing things. Yes.
A lot of times when you're drawing, you get like used to what you're drawing. You don't see the issues with it. So one of the things you can do is like you can mirror it, and that gives you like a fresh view on it. Are there any ways with UI or UX where you can do that as well, where you get like a fresh view on your work?
Generally, I find that it's most helpful to just get other people to look at it. And so when we talked about like these like usability tests, it's like you give them a task and you're like, I just want you to, like, say it's a basketball game. I want you to get the ball into the hoop, and then just see what they do. Some of them will play it straight through. Some of them might try and like rebound it off of things, stuff like that. And so that's how you can kind of start to see like, oh hey, I didn't think of like something or other. And I find that's kind of the best way to do it for trying to get yourself to look at it differently. You really just have to take a break and like come back to it with fresh eyes. That's generally what I do.
Question from the chat really quick. Let me hop to the computer. All right, Errol asks, how much time should you put into UX? What are some signs that you've gone overboard, like you're holding the player's hand too much?
That's always a hard one to decide. And I think that's why you really want to have your research plan like set up early, because what you're trying to do is figure out like what is the problem that I'm trying to solve, and then there are like guidelines of, say, have conversations with 5 people and you'll find about like 80% of the issues, and you'll also find some outliers. And so you can use that as like the method of like, hey, this is addressing like 80% of the issues, and so we're just going to work on those, and then that's the end of like our research. You could also be like, hey, we need to have like 100 interviews with people, but I would not recommend that. You would really need to think about like, why do you need this to talk to this many people? Can you break it up into, we're trying to interview different groups of people to resolve different perspectives, which is where that like accessibility thing can come in. You can do things like, hey, actually we're trying to think about like children versus adults and how they want to play this game. People who are in pairs, stuff like that. So it's not just about like, hey, we're going to ask all of these groups the exact same questions. We're going to ask them, but with a different focus and thinking about solving a different problem.
I've got a question. So I've been a consultant of sorts for the last like 9 years. And we, at a company I used to work at, we had a philosophy of failing early and failing often, where we would, come up with ideas for like designs for like user interfaces and like user experience and stuff. And we would try to get it in front of people to like validate that like the decisions we're making are like good, or more importantly, that they're more crucially that they're bad, so that if they are bad, we know this is not the route to go. I'm going to try to say this very diplomatically. I've had clients in the past who don't really buy into the wisdom of user experience design and getting feedback, because they had a great idea and their idea is perfect, doesn't need to be changed whatsoever. Do you have any like strategies or methods for helping explain to people like why this is actually important and they're actually dumb and they don't know what they're talking about? Without saying that they're dumb, of course.
Yeah, I will say that that whole section will really help you, and especially thinking about like where they are in like the organization, because if they are like a higher up stakeholder who's like it's my vision and this is right, you can kind of come at it from like a diplomatic point of view of being like, well, we're just trying to validate that this is, that this is an issue that people have, and that we're solving it for them effectively. You can also be like, we just want to understand the problem space to make sure that we're like, what would I say? We want to understand the problem space and that we are addressing people's concerns. And we just want to talk to people to get an understanding. And that's generally like what it is of like, we know that you understand like the product and your customers, but we also still want to talk to people to see if we're missing anything, so that way we have opportunities for growth of our product.
It's opportunities for growth, not opportunities to fix your... I'm going to stop talking. Anyone else have a question?
See. So, just a question about the book, because you already mentioned the accessibility research for different levels of accessibility, like physically. Does the book also go with like cultural differences, like different color spectrums for different people, different?
It does not. It doesn't cover accessibility well at all, which I think is really something that is kind of an aspect of the time. As mentioned, it was published in 2013, so accessibility has really kind of come to the forefront in like I'd say like the past 5 or 6 years. So there are books that do address that, and that's where especially like working with a UX researcher who understands like ethnography is gonna really help you with those kind of aspects for figuring things out. Also, I'm pretty sure that this publishing company has a book that's just dedicated to thinking about accessibility. Yeah.
Any other questions?
It's back.
Can everyone give it up for Melissa, please? Thank you so much. So thank you, Melissa, for this lovely presentation you gave us. If you're a person and you want to talk to people about stuff, you can talk about whatever you want. I don't care. If it's about video games, that's sick. If it's not, I need to fill an hour of time for this broadcast every month. So please volunteer to do presentations. We're almost into the year 2024, which sounds like the future, but it is the future because it's not 2024 yet. But please volunteer to give presentations. That's like the whole purpose of this. If you don't volunteer, I'm going to have to talk more, and that is dangerous for my career. But anyway, back to what we were going to do first, but then we got distracted by not having it ready quite yet. We want to talk about the Pig Jam. And before we start talking about the Pig Jam in like very serious detail, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors. We're a registered 501c3 nonprofit organization. What that means is we can take money from you and we don't have to pay tax for it. But what it also means is when you give us money, we have money that we can spend to organize these events, these meetups, these game jams, show and tell, everything that we try to do. We try to provide all this stuff at no cost to people in New Orleans and even people who don't live in New Orleans, like Errol, who asked a question earlier. He just used to come to the Global Game Jam here in New Orleans. He's from Pensacola. It was just the closest game jam site, but he's one of us now. You know, he's never lived in Louisiana his whole life, but he's one of my boys. He's given a presentation before, doesn't live here. That's the kind of openness I'm talking about. So please volunteer to give presentations. Anyway, I started talking about that again while I was trying to thank our sponsors, like King Crow Studios, Pixel Dash Studios, Pretty Coffee, Sea Cave Arcade, of course. Oh, wow, I guessed it. What was the other one? Cohive Software, yes. So thank you, all you wonderful people. We got enough donations to cover the entire cost of the pig, so which was really great because that means every plate that we sold at the jam after the pig was done was extra money for the organization. I believe in total we raised like $800 and $800. Pretty good for maybe even 1,000. We're going to spend the money on a portable monitor so that we can adjust settings on the broadcast without interrupting the presentation. I'm going to buy that when I go home, actually. But we're also going to spend the money on producing bigger and better game jams. Calder, do you want to talk about how we plan on doing that?
Yeah, a couple things before we get completely there. One, money that we get and money that's donated to us, since we are a 501c3, is money that if you want to donate to us, you can write off as a tax-deductible donation to a charity. We are a registered 501c3. All you have to do, if you need any paperwork from us, we have all our fancy letterheads. We can classify you as either a cash donation or an in-kind donation. If you need anything on our end, we're happy and ready to give you anything to sort of, in return, make the tax man burden a little bit better.
In addition to fiduciary donations, we also accept hardware donations. We offer a program. It's not like a very well advertised or shown off program, but if people need equipment because they want to get into game development, we have a place where you can submit a request. We've got a whole room filled with old computers and shit we got from donations from local game studios. We've got a couple big gaming rigs for game development. It's what we use when we host our events with demos. We always bring those computers and set things up. So if you have old hardware that you want to recycle and, or you need hardware because you want to get into game development, get in contact with us. We will take your shit and then we will give you other shit in exchange. Or no, not in exchange, to someone else. Sorry, I'm getting wires crossed.
In addition, where does our money go beyond just the game jams? Before we get into that, our money also goes to the few people we actually have on staff that is not the board, which is me, Curtis, Chris, and Ben. We have a grant writer on our staff, Chelsea, and that money goes towards Chelsea's salary, where she can help people kind of if they need a grant. We can run grants through us and try to get money for our organization as well as people within our community who are looking for grant money for their own projects. Currently, I think we're getting a grant written up or trying to get decks through the finish line right now. Hopefully everything goes well, but it's looking pretty good. But yeah, we try to put that money pretty much immediately back into it. None of us goes into the board's pockets. I think we might even have something currently on our docket that prevents that.
And in fact, I've spent thousands of my own dollars on this organization, and I have not taken a single cent from it. I will purchase a monitor, but it is for the organization. All this shit goes in a bag. I don't touch it ever until I need it for this stuff. So that's our promise and our guarantee. How do Boy Scouts salute? It's like that?
I think
3?
It's 3, yeah.
Yeah, and then Cub Scouts is 2. Okay, yeah. I was only a Cub Scout.
Okay. But yeah.
Anyway. I'm sorry. I get distracted very easily. What were we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about the next jam that's coming up. We're aiming for November for our now probably regular Cranberry Jam. And what that's going to be is going to follow our traditional game jam format where we try to do a 10-day thing, somewhat in person, somewhat online. A lot longer than a normal game jam, but we like it because it gives people time to really let artists and musicians and people who aren't just necessarily breakneck programmers kind of show off their stuff, and we can get like slightly more complete prototypes. I like that 10-day setup because I feel like most jams, but really those 10-day jams, like half of my like fun projects for the next year are born out of it. Like it's kind of interesting to do it for that long. A lot of the times when we try to have these jams, they get railroaded by horrible pandemics and biological events. Hopefully we avoid that this year, but I imagine that money, any money that goes towards that is probably going to go towards food, probably going to go towards coffee, probably going to go towards where we host it, though I think we have a pretty good idea of where we're going to host it. I'm not going to like totally 100% say it, but if we have it, it should be a pretty consistent spot for us. So yeah, that money hopefully goes into Cranberry Jam. I really like Cranberry Jam. And then after that, our next game jam is going to be Global Game Jam. And then after that, our last of the seasonal game jams now is going to be whatever we do in the spring. If y'all have fun ideas for a spring game jam, please let us know. We want to round out our entire schedule so we have a themed game jam for every season. But with that said, should we get into the
Yes.
various things for Pig Jam?
Speaking of jams, you can go back to the presentation. I don't even need to sit here. This is the pig. Remember this pig? Remember this picture from 5 minutes ago or like 40 minutes ago? Anyway, so this is one of our teams. We have all 4 members of the team. Why don't you all come up and talk to the people about your game? And I'm going to try to get the game downloaded in the background while y'all talk and stall. Please give it up for Team Micro Pig. Don't make her talk.
You're the pilot.
That's rude.
Do you know if I'm in frame or not in frame?
I have no idea. Let me see. Just camera, and we're going to turn off the background and move forward. That's it. Ooh. There we go. Okay. Stage is yours.
Nice.
I'm going to be downloading the game while y'all talk.
Fantastic, fantastic. Oh, there's 2 on there. Get the most recent one.
Okay.
Okay, fantastic.
Oh, yeah, that was that first. I didn't talk
Yes.
about
Our greatest lover.
that. That's going to be very funny.
Yes. So for during our Pig Jam, we were Team Micro Pig. It was me, Alex, Melissa, and Chris. And we all worked on a micro game collection, sort of like a WarioWare, where you've got a couple of seconds to figure out what the game is and then play it. And it gets faster and faster and faster until eventually you get...
Top one?
Yes.
Sorry, I don't have to be
No worries. It gets faster and faster and faster, and then eventually you get a high score. Now, of course, if you download it, you're going to be the only one on your computer, so you can get high scores against yourself.
Oh, let me also download 6.1 while I'm at it.
Nice, nice, nice.
Keep talking, keep talking.
Let's see. What were some interesting things we learned during it?
What was your inspiration for the game?
Making that's true. Making a lot of pixel art is hard. Yes. Should we show the pitch deck?
Yeah, Jamie, can you pull up the
Yes.
pitch deck? Wait, I'm Jamie. Sorry. I forgot how Joe Rogan worked. Where was this? Pig Jam Central. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, should we show the pig a third time?
Yes.
I think people. Oh shit! This is PowerPoint. What are we doing?
Yeah, so I've been, learning a lot about how management of games stuff works like that, because usually I work my own. So I learned about how you can make a pitch deck to show it off. So I made this pitch deck to pitch the idea of Team MicroPig.
Yeah.
Very subtle.
Sorry,
Nice shades of white, nice
I have
shades of
fake
gray.
office, it takes a while to load. There we go.
There we go. Nice. Beautiful pig. Not dead yet. Important part. So the concept was you have a gameplay phase. The gameplay phase, you have a couple of seconds. You got a timer. Puts a lot of stress on you. Boom, you win or you lose. And then it loops back around until you keep playing it over and over again. It takes place in the sea cave where you're a bartender, or however we change it, eventually to you're a pig, and you have to keep serving customers or else they will roast you. So in the next mode, this was proposed. We never got around to this. We just do the endless mode. We have a couple of different clients. So in the final game, we have a customer, a developer, an employee, and they all have their own unique micro games that go along with them. So our art style was supposed to be keeping it simple, stupid, or KISS. Fantastic slogan. We were going to use some stock images and some very light pixel art. Eventually, we went completely with the pixel art direction. No worries. And the reason why I originally went with stock images is I saw this beautiful picture of this grandma, and I was like, man, I want that in my game. Now, we didn't go with that in the end, but, listen. So the idea was to have quirky characters, have a customer, have a granny, and then finally, the final boss, the ghost of roast past, a pig who haunts you. But yeah, so we did implement some customers, just not these customers, but yep. So this was the pitch deck, and apparently it worked. We got me, Chris, Melissa, and Alex on it. So fantastic.
Do one of y'all want to come play it?
Does someone who's not played it want to play it? Because I know how to play it, so I just breeze through it.
Okay, sick.
Yes, go for it. Show us our UX skills, as Melissa would show. It's a bit rushed. Yesterday, I definitely learned a lot about the UX, about how to fix it. Yeah, I drew it. And here, I'm going to be honest with you. It's supposed to be a pig snout, but whenever I look at it, I just see a pink Jason Voorhees mask just staring at me. Yeah. Yeah.
Launch damn game. It's gonna open 6 times. I'm gonna hate myself.
Be careful. I didn't audio mix it, so it might be a bit ear rapey at some parts.
Whoa, don't use the look. Is that your fan, y'all? It is. I turned it on myself. Well.
It's too big of a game. It's gonna crash it.
It's gonna launch 6 times. I'm telling you.
This is all HDR. Wait, end all the Unity tabs. Oh my God, this is a high mouse speed you have, sir.
Yeah, so I don't have to move
What
my
is
hand.
Brave EXE?
That's the web brush.
I think that's a crypto coin miner or whatnot, a Bitcoin miner.
Yeah, it's all running.
In that process, Freehold up.
Not allowed. No. There it is.
One
Okay.
one of the versions open.
I really can tell that to shut up, man.
Very familiar.
Okay. Power. Oh my God. What a fantastic user experience I'm having right now. Oh no. Oh shit.
This is what it was like when I tried to play it.
If you don't know the rules, it's real hard.
Yes.
Dang.
Where's the bell?
Where's the bell?
You gotta find it.
I think I saw it at the end there.
know how to ding it.
What, you never played this game before?
Oh, okay. I get this one.
First counterclockwise on.
Everyone knows which way you turn suit.
Same. Let's go.
The hardest one.
Let's go.
Oh, damn. That's a 144 hertz strain.
Let's do it. Charging. Ooh. No. 4. I got the high score.
Yeah, feel free to enter it in.
Yeah.
Oh no, this keyboard came out after. Yeah.
Insane.
The basics was done afterwards. A lot of the UI UX was put in after.
That is not my name, but
Bro, just close your eyes.
Yeah, if you go to the other one, underneath this 10-hour variant, but you know what? Listen, we don't need to look at that one. It was good, yeah. Yeah, so we still need to update this, but yeah.
Click social here, and you'll see all of my.
Yeah. So I probably took me like an extra 30 hours afterwards. Yeah.
The 10-hour version.
To finish it, yeah. A lot of it was like UI and UX, like you put, so I did like a lot of effects and stuff, so that was it. But yeah.
Yeah.
We did have a playable version.
Yeah.
Playable version, if you want to put that one on, you can. Yeah, shoot the 10-hour one.
All right. Jeez, don't. Everyone calm down. I'm showing it. Yeah, let me close that one. Mini Pig. Oh, yeah, Mini Pig's Adventures. Fuck, go away. Game Jam build 10 days ago. This is it.
I like my commentary from the background, and then I'm responsible for it.
Hello. There we go. I fixed it. So you guys, if I remember correctly, had the only functional thing by the end of the jam.
In our defense, though, the other team got messed up because of the.
An award for being the only functional.
Yeah, and
Pixel dash to the finish award.
yeah, you got the
Nice.
Pixel dash to the finish award, and yeah, no, because Errol made a game by himself.
Nice.
So no, there wasn't. And there's also the Russian guy. This is the 10-hour version of the game. I'm going to try to play it. I'm a professional gamer here. That's me. That's a picture of me, actually. It's got great hair. Code it. Oh, I'm so good at this. Watch. That's also me. Who? Was that One Piece? Did you see the live action One Piece? Sick. I said that on stream. I don't know why. Dang it. Where the hell is that? Where's it? There it is. Dang. No, I dinged it. Oh, you have to click it. I thought you had to smash it with a brick. Red. That's not the same color. I'll save. That's funny. Oh, this is just like the Russian game. The Russian game's since been removed, so no one knows what I'm talking about. Oh, it's red light, green light. We'll talk about it when the stream's over. No, it's in the same spot. I'm killing it right now. I'm like,
Yeah, so you're going to go forever.
yeah, I'm the top dog. It's in the same spot. It's always in the same.
Dynamicism
Excuse-
wasn't in this event yet. In the new version, yes. In this version, no.
Pig's Last Stand.
Yeah, in the new version, it won't allow you to get the same game until 3 more games have passed. In this version, we've gotten power at 5 times in a row once.
I just
Yeah.
want to die. Sorry. I wasn't talking about, This is a great game. Y'all did a great job. And since you people had, the only like complete thing initially, we're going to give you first choice of our wonderful prizes, which were donated in part by our great sponsors. So what we have here is we've got a bunch of crap. This is Strabito screwdriver sets, plural, 142-piece electronics precision screwdriver with 120 bits magnetic repair toolkit for iPhone, MacBook, computer, laptop, PC, tablet, PS4, Xbox, Nintendo game console. If you have something to repair that was not on that list, I'm sorry. These screwdrivers will not work for it. That's one of our great prizes. We've got this Game for Pi entertainment system. Is this like a whole thing already?
Raspberry Pi. I think it's already loaded with like RetroPie.
It's a Raspberry Pi already loaded with RetroPie.
Comes with these controllers.
Technically, it comes with these controllers. We're going to put them together.
Split 'em up.
We're going to split them up.
It is the RetroPie machine with NES case, 2 wireless retro SNES controllers, which Jessica Torres would say is the big prize of the 3.
Ah. And then we also have a Geek Pi, Raspberry Pi 4P, Ellipsis 4 Raspberry. And what the hell is this? And this is a Raspberry Pi Zero W basic starter kit. Black case edition includes Pi Zero W power supply and premium black case. And then this is my favorite prize, this top quality product and high speed cable. Thank you for choosing our products. We also have a list of games that you can choose from.
Disco Elysium, Yakuza 4 Remastered, Aliens Fireteam Elite, Life is Strange 2, Other Side, Tribes of Midgard, Monster Sanctuary, Planet Zoo, Call of the Sea, and Back 4 Blood.
Yeah, so y'all can figure out what shit you want to take. You get first pick. There's 4 of you. Only take one thing each. I think we have enough stuff so everyone can get one thing. One of the teams are here, so they get last pick, obviously.
Is Errol's game ready, or should we like show some of the silly stuff our thing can do?
Let's show Errol's game.
Thank you.
So this is a game by Display with
Creamy
Camera. This is a game by Errol,
AKA Creamy
also
Bacon.
known as Creamy Bacon. He's a good pal of mine. He comes and hangs out. Yeah, he's a real bro. Is the stream still? Are there people here? Yes. Yes, Errol, you should come for the global game. Jesus, fuck, this is loud. Sorry, I should stop posting. This is a banger, though. I'm not gonna lie. This is pretty sick. Oh, yeah, this game is 2-player, so I don't know exactly how this works. It's like Pigpen or more. Oh shit, you fucked me. Calder's like an esports legend. Yeah. This is that Daigo comeback. Evo moment 16 right here. Yeah. Try that super. Try it. Oh! That's called the Daigo parry.
Oh, wait, I am.
Oh shit.
And I'm dead. You covered all of his health. Yeah, you shouldn't have killed me that good.
Fuck, I died. Damn it.
You get big wrangles.
This is unfair. God damn it. Yeah, okay. Calder's a cheater, so I won. Let's all be clear on that. So thank you, Errol. There is. Oh, you have to press space and enter. All right, Errol. You did a great job. This is excellent. You get to pick a prize. Yeah. You should pick one of the games. I sent you a Discord message. You should have it already. But thank you, Errol, for contributing to our wonderful game jam. You did great work as always, buddy. Should we show our thing and then turn this off?
Okay, how about you bring up the thing and then put the camera on me?
Okay. Camera's going over there. We trying to light up in here. Just kidding. Please, if anyone from the shop's watching, we're just kidding. We're not lighting anything up. Oh, this is perfect. This actually worked out perfectly.
So, our team decided to definitely shoot within a very reasonable scope and make our own silly custom controller. Here I am with it. It's right next to me. We wanted to make a virtual pig roast. And if you can see, as I gesture wildly in front of it, it sort of exists. Thanks to our dutiful teammate Logan, who put in a lot of work. We did a lot of prep work. We welded this fun little bar to our little bike rack that I cut up with a hacksaw. I'm gonna make sure that I'm all right. Let's see. Let me Vanna White this properly. Oh no. So if I do this, our little rod rotates. The only unfortunate truth about our little rod, if I go too fast, it unscrews. The other unfortunate truth about our little rod is we planned and bought in advance a little Arduino BLE Nano, which has a gyroscope on it. And we said to ourselves, specifically I said to myself, BLE, that stands for Bluetooth. It kind of does, but the B does. As it turns out, it's kind of not Bluetooth too. Bluetooth Low Energy does not send consistent information that we can ping in a sort of system report, much like we would with other Arduino stuff. Instead, it doesn't even pair to a computer. So I sat and panicked for a lot of the jam trying to get that to work. However, we pivoted and got a controller build to work. However, it needed to be plugged in. And if you notice this, our fun rotary device, if you were to put anything that has a cord on that rotary device, that cord would then wind and tangle and mess up and potentially break everything. That said, we still got some stuff done. One, our other Arduino works flawlessly. I would like to bring attention to this little fun thing down here. Hopefully we can zoom in and get a really good look at it. You're going to see right here on this tiny little guy is a ambient heat sensor. Should have been a direct heat sensor, but it's an ambient heat sensor. So what that means is if I take this fun lighter over here and nestle this microphone underneath my armpit so I can light this, it eventually will heat up this thing down here, simulating to the game that we have reached a heat threshold for it to start, which would send a Boolean that would then update and say, hey, the car starts, the game starts. It was our fun way of having a start button. Pretty neat in my estimation.
Yeah. And you see the LED lights lit up. That's how you know it's actually working, and we're not making this up right now.
We got to change the color of the lights. All that stuff goes to a pretty easy thing within our serial port manager on Unity. It's a fun little script. Arduinos actually play really, really nice with Unity as long as they're plugged in.
Yeah, as long as you know what they're doing.
There's also over here an ultrasonic distance sensor. What that does is it sends ultrasonic pulses that we as pathetic humans can't hear, but it bounces back off and creates sort of an echo. And what that means is if we move our fun little thing over here, it also acts as a controller. And the idea was to have that as a grease catcher, and you could go faster if it hit a certain thing, and you could also use that to steer. And ideally, in our perfect world, the game would navigate where you would steer with this and charge up the battery for the car with this. And then when you have to charge up for the battery with this, you would then steer with this. And so you'd be oscillating, control, crazy, backwards and forwards. But, it was a 10-hour jam, and maybe that was a little ambitious.
Yeah. And speaking of ambitious, this is what it ended up looking like. I haven't seen this in a few days. This is gonna make me laugh. Okay, let's let me press play. We actually
the best part's about to come.
It works somewhat. That's correct.
What is this?
Yeah, and then you move the speed up.
So he really made a compelling work of art. Really knocked it out of the park. This is our scoped down.
But yeah, you would move the car, and you would dodge. The collider's too big, so you can't actually dodge them. You're
Those
always
pigs
killing the
explode, but I don't
pigs.
think you can see them explode because they explode behind you.
Okay, I'll stop that before we get arrested for that song.
So we made art.
Yeah, that's called art. That stuff was pretty much done before. What you saw is what we made in 10 hours. That fucking piece of garbage.
No, it's still beautiful. We did, technically we planned it out before and we didn't execute on it until the jam. We had our
Yeah.
diagrams ready. The only part that was like really built before the jam was this fella. Like I took a hacksaw. We got this welded. I didn't figure we
put-
could bring a welding apparatus
Yeah.
into Sea Cave. So
We
we
put-
kind of got that done early.
We put the game together at the jam. We didn't make any parts of the actual game. That was planned out beforehand, and Calypso and Logan assembled it on site. Or did they?
Calypso was our artist. Logan, I feel like,
What?
did a lot of the assembly.
Yeah. I think Logan did most on our team.
Kinda, yeah. And Logan's apparatus is great.
Yeah.
Like,
This shit's
I don't know if you
wrong.
noticed it, the wires are tucked into the PVC piping. Like, there are details on this that are just sort of silly and really, really good. I don't know.
So we had one more team. Unfortunately, Dex hasn't uploaded the game to itch, so I don't have a way to show it.
Yeah. They also had some complications there. Like, they had some weird
Yeah.
network stuff, I remember. So we granted them an additional 4 hours. They work in game dev at a company that I'm pretty sure has a crunch deadline, a lot of them. Not crunch. We don't want to use that word, crunch.
No, we never crunch. We never crunch. That's not. We don't do it.
Passion. They have passion time right now, so maybe they didn't find the 4
We-
hours
we
to
don't-
hit their
We
final
focus.
for their final 10. Well, I'm sure we still have prizes for them. We'll definitely have some stuff left over.
Yeah, we're gonna have
Unfortunately,
stuff
since you're
left
not
over.
here, you'll have to get stuff at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, I talk to Dex like every day. You'll get, you'll get
Yeah.
something. All right. Well, that about does it for us. We've kind of derailed this whole thing now, and everyone's just drinking and not paying attention anymore. But
I do want to say, once again, thank you to our various sponsors, Sea Cave, Pretty Coffee, Co-Hive, Pixel Dash, and King Crow Studios.
yeah, the Baton Rouge game development scene really supporting the New Orleans game developers group. So thank you guys so much for all the donations. Thank you everyone who participated. Thank you everyone who came to Sea Cave, not even for the jam, just to play fighting games and then eat pig.
Yeah.
Thank
you
you
for eating our pig.
Yeah, and thank you for paying for it as well. Thank you to the shop, the CAC, for giving us beautiful space to have our meetup in. Look, I'm just going to pan the camera around. Let me zoom out. I don't know if the thing's even looking at the camera. It is. Look how beautiful this place is. If you're interested in having a co-working spot in this beautiful location, you can go to the website, shopworkspace.com, I think is the website. They don't pay me to advertise this place. It's just beautiful, and I love it here. And I hope they don't kick me out ever. Anyway, My name's Curtis. I've been here. And this is the game dev meetup. I don't care about the camera anymore, and we're going to go away now. I love you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Stop. I said stop.